All right, our first question is, have the recent extreme weather patterns affected your farm at all?
Absolutely. As you're getting to the point where you're going to wrap up the season, most growers anticipate a block of time during, say, the month of November when you have a chance to get things put to bed. In our case, that means for animals, we have to move them to a part of the pasture where we have winter water available. So we start blowing out water lines and putting vegetable beds to bed for the winter. And so when things came on so suddenly, it forced us to try to get through everything more quickly, and that's not always possible. So we ended up with horses getting out and cows getting out because snow fell on fences that normally temporary fences that wouldn't be a problem. So things can very quickly get complicated when you're not ready for temperatures that drop so quickly.
Oh, geez. All right, our next question is, do you believe that these extreme weather patterns are because of climate change?
I'm afraid so. It seems, I don't know how anyone could argue that the extreme temperatures and the highs and lows and unseasonable highs and lows are directly connected to the changes in our climate. And these changes seem to be happening faster and faster. We're breaking records constantly. And the records that we're breaking are getting broken in subsequent months. So I definitely believe that we are in a change.
So kind of going off of that, what are your thoughts on climate change?
I think we need to be acting now. I don't want to put this off so that my kids are stuck with bigger problems or their kids. It's easy to acknowledge that climate change is happening, but it's a lot harder to change your lifestyle, especially when there isn't a collective push to do things differently. So my thoughts on climate change are, if we don't start acting now, we're going to see larger problems that we may not be able to fix.
All right, and our last question is, are there any practices that you have recently implemented because of climate change or extreme weather patterns?
Our farm is taking the changing climate into consideration, and our goal, especially with our grass-fed beef herd, is to sequester carbon. And for us, that means implementing practices that help keep the carbon in the soil as opposed to letting it out. So with the vegetables as well, we've gone to a no-till system. So we are not turning over soil, which immediately increases bacterial activity and creates a chain reaction in which the carbon is released. We are not tilling, so that in and of itself is reducing the amount of emissions. And keeping animals on the land is keeping the ground covered, as opposed to, say, tilling a field right before winter and then having that open ground all exposed. A grass cover keeps the carbon in, sequesters it, and holds it, which is where we need it to be, in the ground, not in the air. So definitely implementing practices to try to work in the right direction.